From the book of Romans. Book of Romans, the 13th chapter and the 9th verse. Book of Romans, the 13th chapter and the 9th verse. The commandments: do not commit adultery, do not murder, do not steal, do not covet, and whatever other commandment, all are summed up by this: love your neighbor as yourself. The commandments: do not commit adultery, do not murder, do not steal, do not covet, and whatever other commandment, all are summed up by this: love your neighbor as yourself. Title this morning is Love Begins in the Self. Love begins in the self, or in yourself. This sermon is really a reflection on a conversation I had some years ago with Bishop Nathaniel Jarrett. Bishop Jarrett and I were talking about this, the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. And Bishop Jarrett said that in order for us to love our neighbor as ourselves, we first have to love ourselves. Amen. We will never be able to love our neighbors if we do not first love ourselves. I've never forgotten that conversation. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. If you have a poor opinion of yourself, you won't think well about other persons either. If you don't feel loved, how can you trust anyone else to care about you? If you cannot forgive your own self for things that you have done, how then will you forgive someone else who wrongs you? if your own self-image is bad, you'll project that both onto everyone else and everything else. So before we can love our neighbors, we first have to love ourselves. Now, we don't hear that often. It's not often told to us that we need to love ourselves. And I think this is because we're trying to guard against three unhealthy types of love. The first is selfishness. Selfishness is to be concerned only with one's own interests. Everything has to be for you and about you. But Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 13:5 that love does not seek its own interests. The second is conceit. To have an excessively favorable opinion of yourself. When someone is conceited, they believe that they're bigger, smarter, and better than everyone else. This is rooted in the sin of pride. Paul tells us in the 12th chapter of Romans that we need not think too highly of ourselves. And the third is narcissism. Narcissism is a perversion of love. Narcissism is love turned inward. To love yourself and yourself only. But love was never intended to be focused inward. Love is always directed towards the other. Selfishness, conceit, narcissism are forms of love that we rightly should guard against. Yet, we still need to love ourselves. Truly loving yourself means that you appreciate everything about who you are. Now, I don't see many teenagers here this morning, so we all of us should have found ourselves by now. We shouldn't still be trying to find out who we are. We're old enough to have passed that stage. So knowing who you are, you should appreciate who you are. Now, are there things that I still need to work on and change? Of course there are. But I appreciate being Reginald Broadnax. I can't be anybody else. And appreciating being Reginald Broadnax means that I accept being who I am. Right? Now, when I was much younger or entering ministry, I tried to be like some of my mentors. I tried to do things in the way that they did, and I tried to follow in the way that they did it, but I couldn't be them. I finally had to figure out who I was. And when I figured out who I was, then I, as they say, I could do me. Right. And I've been doing me long enough now to appreciate who I am. Can't be anybody else. Each of us are uniquely ourselves. Nobody is better at being you than you. Amen. So love who you are. Love who you are. But loving who you are means taking care of yourself. Looking after your health. Doing those things that you know are right. Okay. I eat a little bit too much sometimes, but that's Crystal's fault.
I thought she didn't feed you. I thought she didn't feed you.
Loving yourself means caring for yourself. Amen. Taking care of yourself. Looking after yourself. Making sure that the self is sufficiently well. Yeah. But it also means doing nice things for yourself. I don't want to call any names, but I think a hurricane kept somebody in town this week. But that's okay. To celebrate yourself, to take yourself on a trip, that's fine. Whenever I feel good about myself, I just buy another book. and you know, when that book arrives, I celebrate having another book.
All right. Amen.
That's what I love.
Amen.
Amen. We should all want to do nice things for ourselves.
Amen.
We should all want to celebrate the person who we are. That's what it means to love yourself. But most importantly, loving yourself means having joy within yourself.
All right. Amen.
That joy comes from being content with who you are and loving who you are. I really am glad I am in the place that I am in my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was younger, I did a whole lot of stuff trying to make a name for myself. Wrote a lot of papers, lectured all over the country, did all that kind of stuff. But now, I just like being me.
Amen.
I don't have to impress anybody.
Amen. Amen.
I don't have to show off to anybody.
Amen.
I just sit back and be me. I'm content with who I am. And everybody likes those letters either in front of my name or after my name. But you know the name I love best is Daddy. I really love being in the place that I am right now. Because I've learned to be content with who I am. Earlier I said that narcissism is a perversion of love. It's love turned inward. But love is not intended to be turned inward. Love begins inward. It begins inside of the person. But love is directed outward towards somebody else. Let's look at the example God sets for us. Notice in John 3:16, it doesn't say that God so loved God's self. Notice it does not say God was so thrilled with God's self. It says God loved the world. God's love begins in God, but it is directed towards the world. It begins in the self, but exudes outward. The same should be for us. Yes, love begins inside of us, in loving ourselves. But when we love ourselves, it flows out to loving our neighbors as well. When we truly love ourselves, then we're better able to love our neighbors. And when we truly love our neighbors as ourselves, then we wouldn't do anything to hurt our neighbors. If you love your neighbor as yourself, would you do anything to hurt yourself? Well, if you wouldn't do anything against yourself, you wouldn't do anything against your neighbor either. Remember what Paul said in chapter 12 and verse 15? Rejoice with those who rejoice, and weep with those who weep. If I'm to weep or to cry with those who are in pain, if I truly loved them, I wouldn't do anything to cause them pain. Instead, I would do all that I can to cause them to rejoice. This begins within myself because love does not cause pain. In 1 Corinthians 13:6, Paul says that love finds no joy in unrighteousness. So because love neither causes pain nor finds joy in unrighteousness, we should not do anything that would cause pain either to ourselves or our neighbors. So let's look at our text again. Because I first loved myself, and I would not want to cause pain to anyone else or to participate in unrighteousness, I won't commit adultery. I won't murder. I won't steal. I won't have a desire for what doesn't belong to me. Nor will I break any of the other commandments. Because to break the commandments is to cause pain to my neighbor. And if I love myself, I want to bring that joy to my neighbor as well. But I want you to consider a different perspective. Jesus kind of turned that in a different direction. Notice what Jesus says in the 7th chapter of Matthew and the 12th verse. And this is so familiar to you. Whatever you want others to do to you, do also for them. Whatever you want others to do for you, do also for them. I love myself. I want that which is good and right and joyful for myself. Then I want to do that for my neighbor as well. Because I want to treat my neighbor as I want to be treated.
Right.
I want to see that my neighbor would have the things that I have. I want to see that my neighbor is treated in the way that I want to be treated. So I won't break the commandments against someone else because I do not want them done to me. I would not misuse or harm someone else because I would not want to be harmed. certainly wouldn't mistreat anyone else because I don't want to be mistreated. When you love yourself, then that guides how you treat others. When you love yourself, you want the same for others that you want for yourself. And when you love yourself, you love God.
Amen.
Because God gives you who you are and what you are.
Amen.
And when you find that love within yourself, then you can have joy that no one else can take from you.
Amen.
No matter what else is going on around you, no matter how else somebody is, it's inside of you.
Amen.
But what's inside of you can't help but show outside in everything that you do. Love yourself. Care for yourself. Appreciate yourself.
Right.
Find joy in yourself. And when you love yourself and have joy in yourself, then you can love your neighbor as yourself.